Hello, it's Martin and Arthur from Wisely Automotive. This will be a bit of a different video compared to the other ones because we will probably talk quite a bit more than usual. And I was on holiday recently in Paris.
Thanks for leaving us.
Excellent, yes, no worries. And I did see the Paris Motor Show, so I took quite a few photos. Now, Arthur doesn't follow car news very much, do you?
I find a lack of time in the day to kind of find out. And with EVs, it's changing very fast. It's very rapid. There's new brands I've never even heard of and stuff. So I like to kind of just get a condensed kind of summary from you from time to time.
Excellent. So that's what this video will be about. It will be a good opportunity because you don't know what we are about to look at.
No, so you've, go on and mention the whatever kind of structure you've got to this.
Yes, so basically at the Paris Motor Show there were a few French manufacturers, a lot of Chinese manufacturers, and not much else. Okay. So the Germans were absent.
What do you mean?
No Mercedes, no Porsche, no BMW, no VW.
It's the Paris Motor Show.
Exactly.
It's like Geneva.
Times change, clearly.
So it's the French motor show with Chinese presence?
Yes.
So no Porsche?
No. So you will be reacting to photos of Chinese cars and of French cars.
Okay, before we go on to that, can we just, because you're just kind of wanting to move on from this, why? Why no German presence?
I think everybody is trying to cut costs, and from a manufacturer point of view, I think they would much rather invite press people to their kind of controlled environment where they can't show any of the competition and they show just their product in the best light possible.
They're missing a trick, because if you're saying the halls were loaded with these new brands, and I don't know, you'll go on to tell me if the quality's there or not, but surely it was an opportunity to shine and go, look, we've been doing this for a while and what have you. That's odd.
Yeah.
So BMW,
no. Exciting times ahead, but it's going to be different to what we are used to.
But obviously all the French manufacturers were there.
Nope. Citroën was not there.
You're kidding.
So there was
That's
Peugeot.
a bit lazy, like it's on their doorstep.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
And they introduced a very kind of radical new concept. So I thought, surely that's going to be on display, and they were not present.
Who's that? What, the Ami?
Citroën. No. Oh. So they have like a almost a bigger version of the Ami.
Okay.
So the Ami design language for a cheap electric family car.
Surely that was the perfect opportunity.
It was all over billboards in Paris, but not at the show.
That's odd. Now, just in terms of motor shows generally, there was no Geneva this year?
I don't think so, and I think the next one is cancelled as well.
So it's like 3-4 years now with no Geneva Motor Show. So even more reason to turn up to these, but okay. Anyway, fair enough.
Yeah. We can get started then.
Okay, let's go.
First car, the Peugeot E208, which we know because we have seen it out on the roads for a while. So this is the facelift. It looks identical.
Yeah,
so the typical thing of bumpers and lights changing did not happen.
Okay.
The interior is the same. The instrument cluster with the hologram display is the same. I think visually the only difference I spotted is that the gear selector changed to a newer style.
I wouldn't really call that a facelift. I'd call it lazy.
Massive technology upgrade, exactly.
Okay.
So battery, and now I will look at the notes I made, went up to 54 kilowatt hours from just under 50.
For a small short wheelbase car, that's pretty impressive.
Exactly. So 400 kilometers of WLTP range, so that's 250 miles.
And I reckon with that weight or that size, probably reasonably achievable.
Yeah, kind of 220 should be easily achievable.
We would call this what, like a super mini or a super hatchback or something?
Yes, it's kind of a Fiesta.
Anything had 54 kilowatt hours so far in that kind of size?
I think not that many cars were available in that size. So the i3 is quite similar.
Yeah, obviously it's far off with 40.
Yeah.
The Mini's taken a step back.
Exactly.
What else is there? Smart's obviously still at 20.
Yeah, the VW E-Up, which is a bit smaller than this.
No, that's a different class.
But exactly. So
Would you consider it the same class as a ID3?
No, the ID3 is
So
much
the
bigger.
next size up. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So pretty decent. The motor got an upgrade as well. That's actually important.
Right.
I got a chance to drive the DS3 at the fully charged show, and the old version had 100 kilowatts, so 130 horsepower ish.
Yeah, that's punchy.
It was very slow.
Really?
And so this one is now 115 kilowatts, 156 horsepower, so a bit better. 100 kilowatt DC rapid charging. So that's quite good for the size of the battery. 24 minutes from 20 to 80%.
Yeah.
What you will also notice that as we go through the cars, every manufacturer states rapid charging time differently. So some do 10 to 80%, some do 20 to 80, and some do 30 to 80. And 11 kilowatt AC. Current price on the E208 is 30k starting, roughly. So with the facelift and with how prices are doing, probably that's going to go up slightly.
Okay.
So expect kind of 32k starting
And they're all 4-door.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
fine.
only one body style,
Yeah.
and they are pretty well equipped.
I've been. I think it was a few months ago when stock was very hard to come by. Not that it's improved much, but we were kind of looking at all sorts of other things, and I was looking at those and the Corsa. Are they a platform share?
It's the
It
same
is, yeah.
thing, yeah.
And I was looking at them going through auction, and they're quite, because of the range, they're quite a compelling car.
Yeah.
And yeah, they were like not far off the figures you're talking about. So clearly they hold value reasonably well.
Yeah.
Are they good build quality wise?
Yes, I think the build, sometimes you may say, oh, it's a French budget car, it would not be very nice, but if we look at the interior again, I think it's quite nice for what it is.
It looks almost like a Lamborghini Urus.
Yeah, it's very it's very busy, but then you've got the Corsa, which is simpler. The batteries are good with liquid cooling and heated. The rapid charging rate is good, so I think overall it's quite a nice car. What I was really disappointed by during the test drive, other than the lack of power, because these are front-wheel drive.
But you're talking about the old
conversions.
one,
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
I'm talking about the old one. Was the brake pedal feel. So it's brake by wire,
Oh.
and it's really, really bad. So first, nothing happens for a while, and then when you press your foot harder, the car starts slowing down too quickly, and it's like there's a delay between you putting the foot down and the car slowing down. So it feels if you're going
That's odd.
quick into a corner, it's like, oh, am I braking enough? And then suddenly the balance is not there.
Have I driven anything which is brake
I
by
don't.
wire?
Yes.
What?
The Taycan.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, my own car.
Yeah.
Who would have known? Oh, right. Okay. Well, how come they didn't mess it up?
I think they spend a bit more money on
I
research.
see. Okay.
So we will see whether any kind of improvements are
Okay.
in the little details
Interesting.
in the new version.
Okay, dokes. Well, your first, when you brought this car up, your first kind of question, if you go back a few slides, was the fact that it wasn't really facelifted.
Yeah.
But I think one thing about Peugeot, and I don't know, maybe generally all the sort of Stellantis cars, this is Stellantis.
Yes, it is.
So it's quite uniform. Like you recognise it as a Peugeot. You also recognise it. So sorry, you don't just recognise it as an electric Peugeot, but as a Peugeot in general. Yeah. And with a lot of the other manufacturers, their EV offerings look completely different to their regular ICE cars. And I think that's not a good idea because it doesn't isolate, but it kind of makes those owners feel like they're part of a different club. Yeah. And you'll have Peugeot owners for 20, 30 years who just want a new Peugeot rather than an electric car, and then they can fall into it without feeling intimidated that it's something completely different. But that's good range, and
I think that's a discussion to have in a separate video because there's pros and cons. Obviously, this is constrained by being a petrol conversion. Yeah. But then it looks familiar and is familiar on the inside.
This whole hating on petrol conversion cars, though, like I know it's just the immediate go-to for taking the mickey out of the e-Golf and things like that, and the iX3 and stuff like that. But if it works, so what? Like if you found a way of, if you bought a old, I don't know, Victorian house and you managed to get all the mod cons in, great. There's no need to tear it down. It's fine. So I don't think that's a problem personally. And I'm sure at the point where they were designing this, they they already were
factored in.
Of
Yeah, the
course.
electric drive.
Yeah. And doing things like the i3 and whatever, it adds a lot of costs.
Yeah.
Because you're not.
They were expensive cars when they were launched.
Exactly. So, fair enough.
Okay, so that's a conversation for episode 2 of
Yeah.
our little podcast, which
Yeah.
we will
Also,
we'll see how we set that.
we were joking. Sorry about the train. So this is unfortunately one of the constraints of our site, and we will try and speak up. But yeah, it's going to be quite relentless. I'm sorry. But we were taking the mickey about it being a facelift, which isn't a facelift. But again, if it ain't broke,
don't
fix it. It still looks fresh.
Yeah, and it's kind of in line with the rest of the Peugeots.
Yeah.
The odd thing is that it still has the old infotainment.
Okay.
Because if we look at the car number 2, that's the Peugeot 408.
Wow.
So it's kind of a brand new thing. It
Okay.
sits between the 308 and 508. In photos, at first I thought that, yet another SUV or a crossover thing. In person, it sits quite low. So it's very much, it's like a GT touring thing. Big wheels, newer interior with the newer infotainment.
Okay.
Tried it out very quickly, is much faster than the old one.
Are these Google based?
No, so these are kind of proprietary
Okay.
Stellantis infotainment systems. One interesting feature is that underneath the main screen, I think it's an option, you get a second screen,
I'm used to that.
which you can...
It's useless.
This one is actually more useful because you can customize what those buttons are,
Okay.
and it doesn't come across in photos, but they are about an inch by inch, so they are quite easy to tap while you're driving, and they stay there forever.
Right.
And you still have kind of hardware hotkeys underneath that, and a proper volume knob.
Ah, very good.
So yeah,
Okay.
that's that. And on the inside, so Peugeot, just like the E208 on the higher trim levels, they use a kind of 2-layer instrument cluster screen. So if you look closely, on the top is a second screen, and there's like a head-up display which projects onto like a plastic screen in front of the main screen, if that makes sense. It's very complicated, and it's very difficult to get across in photos.
So this blurry bit, I'm guessing,
Exactly.
is the
Kind of
hologram.
it floats above the main.
Very gimmicky.
It is.
And actually, just generally looking at that image,
It's very busy.
if I, rented this car for the day, I think by the time I dropped it off 10 hours later, I still wouldn't have a clue what I'm looking at. I mean, that would take weeks to kind of understand.
I think so.
And I think generally this new style of, just one big screen, and whether you put gauges in there to try and mimic what we're used to, or just, go totally afresh. I think there needs to be some standardization, because there are people who hop into different cars, and it's all over the place. That's very messy, I think. But
I think it looks nice in the brochure, but you need to really get used to it if you wanted one. Materials, definitely a step up over the 208. Most of the interior is pretty much shared with the new 308. Massaging seats available, and it's not the kind of cheapo massage where the lumbar support moves, but it actually has the air pockets, individual air pockets, so that's quite nice.
And this is ready to go? This is not a concept?
This is not a concept, this is ready to go. You can buy it now as a plug-in hybrid or a petrol. And then E408 is coming next year with, unfortunately, the same drivetrain as the 208. So even though it's quite a bigger car, which is going to be suitable for long journeys.
Still only 54 kilowatt?
Yeah.
Oh. They're going to struggle with that. What, out of interest, what size do you know is the battery in the PHEV?
I think, off the top of my head, it's about 15 kilowatt hours. The electric range is quite decent, so it's not like a compliance thing.
I think we might start seeing a lot more, maybe not range extender vehicles, but FCEVs with big range.
Yes.
I think the market's calling out for that, because people have been running their Outlanders and Countrymans and whatever for the last few years. They've got used to being, to sort of maximising that 15, 20, 25 mile range, and now they want more, but they're not ready to give up on that, that ability to go further. And I'm not surprised, given the current state of the infrastructure. So, Long live the range extender.
You love the range extender.
But I've been saying this for. I realised that it was coming back last Christmas in that e-tron from the hotel up in, I don't know where it was, and what should have been, we left fully charged. It really should have been one stop around kind of Oxfordshire area and then back to London, and should have taken 4 or 5 hours. It was like, I think it was Boxing Day, so it was very quiet, and it ended up, we got home at 10 p.m. and it was, first charger we pulled up to, there was an ENV200 charging, another ENV200 waiting, then some chap who'd just picked up a Q4 who, once it was his turn, proceeded to charge for over an hour. This was BP Pulse, so you got the 90-minute, I think, at the time limit. And, it got to the point, I'm usually quite kind of polite and fair with these things, but it got to the point where I went up to him and said, are you going far? Because you've managed to you're on 97%. He's like, oh no, next week I'm going somewhere, so I'm just getting a head start, getting it fully charged. I've just got it. I was like, this is the problem. My Boxing Day is being ruined by these newcomers who don't understand. But that's another rant. But it made me realise if we were just in a range extender, we would have got home and still had dinner at a sensible time.
Or a Tesla.
Yes, although have you seen the recent photos from like T-Bay services and stuff like that?
Busy.
It's getting busy as well. So I don't know if that's actually the answer. I think there are going to be a lot of people who like the idea of electric, but they get caught out once, and it'll be rushing to not rushing, but trying to get to an important business meeting, and maybe by missing that business meeting or turning up late, it's really affected them financially, and they'll be like, that's enough. And I think at that point, if they just want protection for those few odd trips, but they like the overall principle of it. Sorry, there's an i3 just there, but yeah, I think i3 Rexes really have not seen, and they've been growing in value the last year or so. We haven't reduced the price on a Rex in forever, and I think that's going to kind of improve. But equally, there are it's a 4-seater, so. Yeah. I think the market's
something bigger.
I think,
bigger Rex.
Yeah, or FEV with really good range.
Yeah.
Still, because Rex is odd in it, and trying to explain Rex to people can be, because it's so different to a normal drivetrain. But I think FEVs using little 1-litre engines or something, or even these whatever they are, the 2-cylinder. Do they do two? Does someone do a 2-cylinder engine, or is it 3 cylinders? The smallest.
3 cylinders. Sorry.
Okay, so some teeny little 3-cylinder thing, and then a reasonable, like a 24 kilowatt-hour battery or something like that. That needs to come. That's my view on it.
I think it will come.
Which you will
see shortly.
Going back to your spreadsheet or your presentation, this vehicle is new to market and it's got 12 kilowatt hours.
Yeah.
Unimpressive.
Okay.
Looks cool though.
Exactly.
Very cool, yeah.
Sloping roof line. For us who clean cars, this is the way to do a spoiler, isn't it?
Was there a dust situation in Paris?
Yes, but ignoring that, you can take this through a car wash, and it's going to clean the rear screen. Whereas if you take the i3 through a car wash, or anything else which has the kind of swept back spoiler, you always get a patch of dirt underneath that. This is important stuff.
Jeez, Martin. I thought you were going to make some big revelation there. Right, okay. That's a non-point.
Moving on then.
Are we going to get on to some other exciting things?
Yes. So quite nice rear lights. Obviously all the kind of safety equipment, cameras and stuff.
Okay.
I quite liked how it looked. But I think the drivetrain is going to be a problem here.
Sorry, is this the same thing you showed me earlier?
Yes.
Okay, so right. Just a different colour.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at that grille and thinking that's going to be expensive when, some old deer in a Ford Focus hits you in the Sainsbury's car park.
Possibly. We will see. Alternative version to that is the DS4. Same thing, same shape, same drivetrains, just supposedly more premium, but in fact I think I like the Peugeot better.
Yeah, I agree.
Both outside and inside.
Yeah.
I think this is trying too hard to be premium.
Just there with that kind of, I don't know, crease or something. It's a little bit Lotus, whatchamacallit?
Yeah.
What's it called?
The electric one.
Spectre. No,
that's
the Rolls-Royce. The other one.
Electra,
yeah. It's just something about it.
Yeah.
But anyway,
it's that kind of shape, but it's slower. It's
funky
not
tail
like an
lights.
SUV. Yeah.
Again, they're going to be expensive when you knock a
I
bollard.
think that's the pattern here.
Oh, okay.
Jeep, which is now part of the Stellantis group. So take a guess. What is the drivetrain of the new Jeep Avenger?
Well, if it's 54 kilowatt hours.
Exactly.
I see.
I think
There's
you
a
see a
trend
pattern,
here.
yeah. The interesting thing that this is supposedly only going to be available as an EV, so no combustion engine version.
Okay.
But it's still the same drivetrain. It's still the same platform underneath.
Price?
Not discussed properly.
Okay.
I think I tried. They had like leaflets available, all of which were in French. I don't speak any French, but I think the figure I saw for the top trim level was 50,000 euros. So you're looking at about 40 grand pounds.
I was
starting.
hoping you'll say like early 40s, and I think at 50, given sort of rapid inflation, that doesn't seem too unreasonable. And I'm guessing proper 5-seater, big boots and everything.
Yes.
It's like a Renegade size thing, is it?
Almost. It's a little bit smaller, I would say. Not.
Oh, is this it?
Maybe upright. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, it's a lot smaller than it looked from the front.
Yeah,
Very big car.
It looks kind of, yeah. Front. I think it's one of those things where it's meant to look
the rear.
massive.
It's lost its Jeep DNA on the rear.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But the inside is quite nice, a bit plasticky though. So the steering wheel and the things you touch are quite nice.
I think you can forgive Jeep for that, because, we've had a few Renegades and Cherokees or whatever they're called in Part X, and they're always very utilitarian, even though they're driven to Sainsbury's and back. They've got, it's like when you get in a Defender or something.
Yeah.
It's very hard plastics, but that doesn't necessarily mean bad quality.
Yeah.
As in bad fit.
Yeah.
But yeah. So maybe that's why. Maybe you were looking at all the other kind of Stellantis cars and you jumped in that one expecting the same kind of materials.
It's the same price. It's the same drivetrain.
Yeah, that's true.
It should be.
And is this like Europe-centric, or is this going to go to the US? Or
I think it's Europe-centric, and I think they will have more bigger EVs going to the US. But yeah, proper 5-seater. I quite liked it. But again, front-wheel drive only for now.
I really like the front. The front looks cool.
It looks good.
I think the rear, they missed the trick. It looks very Eurobox.
They went one step further. Now, that's a concept, but it previews basically the next generation of drivetrains for Stellantis with dual motors, all-wheel drive. Not much more detail than that, and obviously it has a bit more cladding on it to look a bit more off-roady.
So it's a bit like a Taycan Cross Turismo.
Yes.
Kind of thing. Without looking at the picture, Martin.
Yeah?
No, you just looked at the picture.
Okay.
No.
Okay, yeah, go on.
My game's over.
Okay, what was I supposed to say?
I was going to ask you, how many grills do Jeeps have? I believe it's the same on all recent Jeeps.
I think I can look at the picture and I still would know the answer. So the answer would be 8?
Close. 7.
Okay.
I think it was easy to fall into an even number trap. So
Yeah.
I think you did all right. But yeah, I believe all kind of recent Jeeps, like from 2000-ish, have always had 7. But I'm sure someone's going to disprove us in the comments now. But anyway, okay.
Okay, so that's basically the European stuff done.
Fine.
We are moving to China.
Okay.
BYD.
Yes.
So this is the Atto
Build
3.
your dreams.
Exactly.
Is that it?
Yes.
Okay.
It says on the table.
Now, is it BYD or is it BID?
BYD.
Okay.
Small SUV crossover thing. What a shocker. The thing which everybody wants. But interesting, they had the motors on display. And now we recently had the i3 motor out. This looks a bit similar, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It has more horsepower. It will be front-wheel drive. But
this looks like it's does this live in the front?
Yes.
Yeah.
So this will live in the front.
Yeah.
And what looks like the EME on the i3 in this version, it also supposedly houses the onboard charger. So the KLE
is inbuilt, yeah. Okay.
So it's and in person, I think it was quite a bit more compact than the i3. So you can see how the technology has kind of moved forward and everything is getting more integrated.
You know, with an i3, you open up the EME and there's plenty of space there. It's, you know, they could have packaged that smaller, but anyway.
Hence why, everybody's pushing for kind of more integrated, proper EVs.
And this BYD thing is, so it's front-wheel drive. It is. So what are we looking at there? Is that the chassis?
That's the front. Yeah, exactly. That's the chassis. And
well, it's that seamless. There's no weld marks or anything.
I think
that's a concept thing.
That's a demo
display
thing. Yeah,
okay,
exactly. But yeah, front-wheel drive. Power. Let's look at my cheat sheet. So batteries in the UK. So this is coming to the UK.
By the end of the year, I hear.
Supposedly.
Yeah.
I can't quite imagine how that will work, given there are no proper dealerships yet.
So I think, and I might be confusing it with a different manufacturer, but I believe they have teamed up with one of the franchise chains.
Okay.
And they will be being retailed through their... Wait, before I... hang on. Maybe you keep talking about something else, because I don't want to give away or say something wrong. But
so batteries, two sizes, 48 and 60 kilowatt hours, roughly. So good for the segment.
Yeah.
Range for the bigger one, 420 kilometers WLTP, so 260 miles.
Yeah.
Power, 150 kilowatts, 200 horsepower from the front wheels.
It's pretty nippy.
Yeah, 88 kilowatt rapid charging though only, and 30 to 80% in 29 minutes, so not exactly the fastest to charge.
At AC.
And AC 11 kilowatts. And price, so I believe the kind of European price, because it's already on sale in Germany, I believe, is 38,000 euros starting, so about 33k.
It's cheap.
So
worryingly cheap.
For good range, usable 5-seater car.
Yeah. You know my view on the whole thing. I think these, you know, we have our own brands and stuff that we should be trying to promote, and this is a cop-out, importing this stuff without heavy levies. But hey-ho.
It's competition. You would think that now this will make our brands try to work a little bit harder. That's what I would hope for.
I think let's the proof will be in the pudding, in that let's get them on the road, let's find out that they don't rattle, that they, you know, work well on UK roads, that when you have an issue there is a support mechanism that's there for you, and you know the customer service is good, etc. Let's, you know, for example, Tesla, you know, we did that video which absolutely failed about the Tesla versus Porsche handover experience, and that's a manufacturer who's generally been accepted into Europe. You know, we love them. There's one parked right there, and that is very unconventional in how they do things, and enough so to put some people off. But generally, it's been accepted. For a Chinese manufacturer to come in, they've got to do everything almost better than the conventional, than the established brands to establish themselves. Yeah, you know, is Genesis one of these?
No, so Genesis is South Korea.
Okay,
and they are kind of
because they're a little bit ahead of
Hyundai brand. Yeah. So yeah, but I think for them also it's a challenge how to ask the European customer for a lot of money when they can say, oh, I would just rather have a BMW at the same price.
I've started seeing them on the road though, and you know, they do these 3-day test drives and stuff like that. I think they have to, but well, these will sell on price.
Yeah.
So regarding the distribution of these, so generally that there's a big sort of a big kind of storm brewing in terms of how cars are distributed and sold in the UK, Europe, and actually worldwide. Among most manufacturers, a lot of manufacturers are going to what's known as an agency style model. So they will, the dealers will no longer hold stock, they'll almost just be like test drive centres. And so with all these Chinese brands coming in to the UK, the question is, are they going to do that like, you know, and actually Tesla are even one step further. They don't even do an agency style model. They just have their own showrooms. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what this company does. What I was confusing with, and I've just checked, is Ora Cat.
Mm-hmm.
So
we will get onto them in a second.
Oh, were they
there?
Yeah. Okay, no surprise. So Ora Cat have signed a deal or agreed to have their vehicles sold in the UK via Peter Vardy,
mm-hmm.
who is a franchise of a lot of different brands. I think they have a BMW dealership.
I think so.
Yeah. So lots of very big, one of the biggest franchise chains. But it won't be through their main dealers. It will be like a bolt-on or like a little kind of shoved in the corner of their Peter Vardy Cars, C-A-R-Z
mm-hmm.
dealerships, which are like, I think it's like an outlet for their part exchanges. So... the only thing is Ora Cat probably have a smaller budget than this big beast. This is the biggest Chinese manufacturer, isn't it?
I think so. And we already see their vehicles on the road, exactly, because they do buses, and even buses they don't make, they supply the drivetrain for many of them.
They are going to hit, and they're going to hit hard, because they'll already have employees in the UK for that commercial side of things who know how it works, know what's needed, and they're going to throw money. I think they'll probably have their own dealerships or whatever. But yeah, a force to be reckoned with, sadly.
Yeah, I mean, it's more competition.
You're excited.
More competition is good.
Yeah, I know.
And let's be honest, the Europeans have been asleep for a bit.
Fair enough.
So a bit of a kick in the butt will
my hope is exactly that this will stimulate, you know, improvement in technology and impressive things to come out of Europe. Let's hope. And it's not, you know, in 10 years we're not just all driving around in Chinese stuff. But anyway,
Interior very funky.
Mm-hmm. Funky but well built.
Well built, and if you think about it, this is a competitor to the ID3, almost ID4. This is built better. The quality of the materials is nicer.
You're sitting in a show car which they will pull off the line and absolutely double check everything.
Yeah.
So reserve full judgment until you've got one on a UK plate.
Yes.
Here. But I appreciate what you're saying.
So the design is very kind of funky, and I think this will be the thing which will make it or break it for many people, because it still looks a bit Chinese on the inside.
It needs charm. It needs a quirk. You know, even Tesla had to work hard to get people on side, because at first it was, it's bland looking. Remember when the Model S came out, people were like, how would you pay that money for something that looks so bland? But they've they stuck with it, and it's got a DNA now.
Exactly.
Whereas these things will arrive and they'll be like, you know, like stray dogs. People will be like, maybe not. Should I love it? Should I not? It's, Yes.
So it feels like that. That's a photo of me to show the headroom and the space.
NASA.
We love NASA.
Hoodie, what are you playing at?
An aerospace engineer. Who I am. Technically.
It's nothing to do with that, isn't it? Like the cliche YouTuber thing.
It is. But anyways, good headroom.
Also, you're not smiling. I am. Can we put it on record?
I'm loving the experience.
No, you're sitting there going, get me out of this thing.
Okay.
It's going to ruin the European car industry.
Okay. Very Tesla Model 3-esque inside, but there's a party trick, because Chinese manufacturers love party tricks. The screen can rotate. So you can choose between landscape or portrait.
It's a choice that people don't need.
Maybe. Yes.
I
can see the
I drive
logic.
Model S's, I drive Model 3s, I jump in it, and
it is what it is.
It is what it is. I don't think it particularly matters. Okay, the only thing I would say is landscape is better for all the, what's it called? Android Auto. CarPlay, all that. So horizontal's better, but then just have it stuck as horizontal.
I think the idea is that for driving, it's a bit nicer to have it portrait style, and you can have it split equally.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you want to watch a movie while charging, you can flip it into landscape. That's how far I'm willing to go to defend that design choice. Seats, materials, again, quite nice. A little bit more plastic, so it's vegan leather,
Uh-huh.
and it's a little bit more plasticky than the Tesla vegan
So
leather.
you actually managed to sit in this one.
Yes, I did manage to sit in this one.
Anyway, sorry, go on.
Moving on.
The vents are quite a sort of neat solution, actually.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm guessing
And
they move in threes. Yeah?
exactly,
Okay.
and it has its kind of own design language, and I think the question is whether it will catch on in Europe.
Yeah.
And the outside, it's very, I would say an E-Niro would be a direct competitor to
Mhm.
this. So it's exactly that kind of size, that kind of range,
I'm just not excited by this. Like, look
I
at
know.
it. It's just, yeah.
but it's cheap. It
Yeah,
is
yeah, I
cheaper.
know, I know, I
so
know, I know.
that's what will sell it. And for people who want a car as an appliance,
Yeah. I see that.
that will be the market.
Yeah.
But yeah,
They are basically where Kia and Hyundai were
15 years ago.
15 years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
And we've now accepted them, and or Europe has accepted them, and they're just part of the big the big one,
Yeah.
big names.
And
now.
they got so good that they are
Yeah.
technology-wise on par with many of the kind of European competitors.
We've sold, I think, 2 Konas or 1 Kona. It was pre Martin PM, but they were lovely. Build quality was right up there, phenomenal range, what have you. So they've got their issues as well. I think there's some battery recall and stuff.
Yeah.
But they're an established UK manufacturer. No one would go, ooh,
Yeah.
don't know whether to take a risk. It's a Kia.
Yeah.
If anything, actually, it's a risk buying a JLR car.
Yeah.
So if they should look back in history and see the steps Kia and Hyundai made and replicate them, and they'll probably succeed.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
BYD Tang.
This naming is
it is hilarious.
okay.
It's like a bigger SUV, like an
ugly
X3
car.
size thing.
It's an ugly car.
It looks a bit outdated, and I thought it was like their previous generation of cars, but it's supposedly premiered. I'm very confused about what's happening with that. So that one, not very excited about. However, BYD Seal.
So immediately I'm seeing Renault Fluenza or whatever it was. I'm seeing a Taycan. I'm seeing a Tesla Roadster.
Uh-huh.
Are you now going to show me some kind of estate rear, or is it a sports car?
It's a Model 3 competitor.
Oh, right.
So imagine a Model 3, because it is already on sale in China, and the Chinese love rear legroom.
Yeah, they also really like pinching design details.
That is true.
I mean, come on.
That is true.
You've got to overlay a Taycan
We can
photo
overlay
from the same
Taycan.
angle.
Yeah. Or a Model 3. The nose is very Model 3-esque. The
It's very-
shape of the nose.
No, I don't think so. It's
Okay.
very, it's kind of aggressive. The Tesla's quite rounded. It's more like a Vantage, an Aston Martin
Yes,
Vantage or
yes.
something. But
Wait until you see the rear of the car. But Model 3 competitor specs, because this is quite interesting. Battery, 61 or 82 kilowatt hours. So on par with Tesla's. It uses a new form of battery, which uses cells which go across the entire width of the car. So if you imagine the i3 cells like little 12-volt boxes,
yeah.
these ones are like blades which go through the entire width of the car.
Okay.
And just like Tesla, it's a structural battery. So basically the front and rear crash bars kind of bolt directly onto it.
Just like Tesla recently.
Just like Tesla is planning to be.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think
Yeah.
that's hit Europe yet.
No.
But, okay, what's the advantage there? Cooling through the veins? Or?
Weight savings, because you don't need a separate battery box.
Okay.
Because the box is the battery,
Yeah.
and the battery takes some of the load, and
Okay.
it's supposedly very rigid, so it should drive nice. Which I know you're going to be skeptical about, but range. I'm not even going to list the numbers because it's
Please
all
tell me.
Chinese.
It's rear-wheel drive.
It is yes, it is rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive,
Okay.
including a performance version. Base line is 200 horsepower, just like the Atto 3. Top of the line version.
The what, sorry?
Like the Atto 3.
Is that the
lovely
thing we looked
SUV.
at first?
Exactly.
Okay, so, yeah.
Performance has 523 horsepower.
Okay.
Should be a bit more exciting.
So that's Taycan Turbo.
Oh, no.
No,
Is it?
it's between the 4S and
Yes.
the turbo. Yeah.
And charging with the big battery, 150 kilowatts. The kicker is the price. We don't know how much they are going to be in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Chinese direct conversion starting at £27,000. Now, let's be honest. If we include shipping and the import fees, it's going to be more. But I think kind of 35k starting.
Wow.
When a Model 3 is how much starting now? 49?
We have a used i3 for sale for that money.
Yeah.
That's insane.
But
who's going to buy it? Who's going to wake up and go, do you know what? I've been thinking about buying a second-hand Boxster. Oh, I'll go buy one of these. Because that's the... Oh, wait, sorry. It's not a sports car, is it? It's a Model 3.
So
Model 3.
Inside, I could not get to the inside.
Okay.
Because it was locked. It was the first one on display. But that's how it looked.
Finally. Okay. In my head, I don't know. I
Yes.
preconditioned myself into thinking it's some kind of sports car. Yeah. But that's basically an i4 knockoff, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it? It's a hatchback.
No, because it's China.
Okay.
It's a sedan.
Okay.
Because they love sedans.
Fine. So 30, let's say 35 grand in the UK. Probably from next year.
For a 60 kilowatt battery.
All the people who got into Model 3s in 2019 and 2020 for like performances for like 45 grand, and they're now plummeting in value, and they'll have about, equity wise, they'll be able to get into one of these next year. They will. That's going to sell.
It looks good. I quite like it.
Yeah, but that's the key. It's got some kind of charm. I don't like the front end, but I really like the rear.
I think so. BYD,
Great build quality on that rear bumper.
It's a pre-production one. BYD and MG and Ora are all setting up research centers in Europe. So I think this is the first kind of model which, from the get-go, was designed to be European as well. And I think that's the reason why it's a bit more appealing. Yeah. It's a bit more kind of to our taste, isn't it? Okay.
Sorry, go back. That button. Where have we seen that?
Porsche.
Yes.
And where have we seen that before? Actually, no, it was after Porsche. Never mind. The Megane Tech has the same thing.
I wouldn't know.
Okay. Europe.
Okay.
I lied. There's something more about Europe, but it's all concepts. But it's good.
There's a Renault 5 turbo looking thing in the background.
Yes, we will get to that.
Do you know what that even is?
Yes.
Do you know what a Renault 5 is?
I had to Google it. Renault Forever Trophy concept.
This thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
It obviously is a concept, so you have to take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
But this is previewing an affordable urban crossover SUV thing, which will be built or like based on the Renault 5, which we will get onto in a second, coming in 2025 with a 50 kilowatt hour battery, and price should be below £30,000.
Oh, great! But by 2025, 50 kilowatt hours is going to be nothing.
I think they are trying to say that the price will be the kind of selling point.
Okay. Well, look, there's definitely a precedent for expensive or not mega cheap cars with not mega high range. Honda E, Mini, electric. These cars, when they were released, there was complaints. Oh, what are they thinking going to market with such a small battery? But they're selling. You know? So Honda E.
The difference
I think there was a waiting list for the Honda E.
Yeah, the difference is that those cars are more kind of fashion items.
But this,
we will see how this turns out in production.
It'll get diluted.
Yeah, but it's the size and the type of the car people want.
Okay.
So we will see. This should be exciting for you.
That's cool.
So that is a Renault R5 Turbo 3E concept.
Yeah.
Probably will not make it to production.
Yeah, of course, because it's the first car that's put a smile on my face.
But 2 electric motors on the rear axle.
Nice.
Some clever torque vectoring.
GoPros instead of headlights.
Exactly. Very production ready.
Bit of sponsorship there.
Probably. And they are saying it has an FIA-approved roll bar on the inside.
Okay.
Like that's what you would need.
Ready for track days.
Exactly. And
The GoPro
380 horsepower.
The GoPro for mirrors, just there.
Yes.
You saw it in the last picture. I think there's an idea there. GoPro should kind of send a few, unsolicited mailers to all these manufacturers and go, hey, look, this is the way the mirror industry is going. We've developed this clever system. I think that there should be some synergy there.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, go on.
Yeah, I mean, it looks quite cool, but
these concepts, they put a smile on your face, but really they're irrelevant. They're design studies.
Exactly. Now, that's where we get to the interesting one.
Okay.
So in the back
Twingo
is the Renault 5.
Oh.
The new, about to be relaunched Renault 5. So this is still a concept.
But it's been signed off.
But it has been pretty much signed off. And there is a production version of this coming in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
And this is very close to production in terms of design.
So it's basically a new Zoe.
And it will be a replacement for the Zoe.
Mm-hmm.
Battery, 50 kilowatt hours. So similar to what the current latest Zoe has.
I think maybe 50 kilowatt for that wheelbase. Maybe we've hit a ceiling there.
I think there's room for improvement.
Yeah.
Everybody thought Renault would use LFP batteries.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what the Model 3 now uses.
Mm-hmm.
Is the chemistry without cobalt. It's a
Mm-hmm.
bit heavier, or less energy dense, but it's cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
And the point of this car is to be, again, very affordable. But Renault has confirmed that they are not using LFP. So they're going to use the standard kind of lithium-ion battery, which we know.
Okay.
So nickel, cobalt, manganese.
Okay. Now let me just make a kind of suggestion here. So 50 kilowatt hour lithium-ion battery. So basically just like the Zoe.
Yes.
So they're just moving it across.
This is going to be a bespoke EV. So the Zoe is
it
kind of
was
based on a Clio
wasn't
platform.
it? Yeah.
So
I always forget that.
They are still saying this. So it's a CMF BEV platform, which is derived from the
What did you call
CMF V platform.
Okay.
So it's still going to share some bits with petrol engine cars, which can be shared, but I think it's going to have a dedicated battery box and a kind of skateboard architecture with a flat floor and so on. Length 4 meters, so basically an i3 alternative as well.
I would have thought shorter because it looks like a little town car.
It does, but we will see how that works out in practice. But they are very specific with the thing that it's going to be 4 meters, 250 miles of range, about 50 kilowatt hour battery, and a price. Now this was pre-inflation craziness, £21,000.
Wow.
Post-inflation craziness, probably 25.
Fine, but
good.
Still
it's
reasonable.
about
time these cars got to a reasonable price point. That said, it doesn't. It appeals to a small audience. That's cool. If you actually know what a Renault 5 looks like, that's quite cool. But it's good to see these things being launched sub 30k. If we're going to get to 2030,
there needs to be something.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the plan. Release date 2024. To excite you a bit more, an Alpine version coming.
Cool.
R5, 215 horsepower, and 0 to 60 in about 6 seconds. So
That's
kind of a
brilliant.
hot hatch.
Yeah, that'll be
thing.
fun. That'll be fun.
Moving on, Megane E-Tech, which I test drove. So nothing.
Actually, we have a vlog on that, don't we?
Yes.
You can link that.
Exactly. I will leave it in the cards somewhere above or below.
Sorry, that way. I'll leave it to him.
Difference is this being the European version, it has the bigger screen, almost like a Tesla with a portrait screen in the middle, which we don't get in the UK yet. And also the Europeans get a flat floor when you fold the seats down. We don't get an option of a second floor in the boot. Only difference, really.
Weird.
Yes, and they get a heat pump, which we do not get.
Oh, that's big.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Hey ho. Scenic Concept. Full name is Renault Scenic Vision H2 Tech concept. So H2,
Honestly,
hinging at the
what-
fact that it's a
What
hydrogen.
are these manufacturers thinking?
It is a bit complicated. Isn't
But
it?
this is a concept.
It's
It's
a
a vision.
concept, but-
Okay. Well, the visions have always had a weird names, but
It's going into production.
fine. But then it will just be called a scenic.
Exactly.
Good. Okay.
E-Tech,
Okay. Fine.
because it's going to be electric. So this concept.
But sorry, are they calling the Renault 5 an E-Tech?
Yes,
Oh, they are.
I think
So that's the new
This- nomenclature to say that it's electric.
Okay, fine.
It's confusing because I think E-Tech used to mean plug-in hybrid.
Are there
as
any
well.
more ICE cars on the horizon?
Well, if you look at all of these concepts, not really.
Fine.
I think they will kind of keep facelifting
And
what they have.
Just to kind of clarify, this wasn't an EV car show.
No,
This was the motor show.
exactly.
The Paris Motor Show. Now, were there ICE Renaults on display?
Yes.
Okay, you just chose to not look
So
at them.
there is the new, what's it called? It's a replacement for what's the small crossover city thing called?
Captur.
A
Yeah.
replacement for that. And it looks like the Megane E-Tech, just slightly different.
Uh-huh.
It's the same design language. But that's the only thing. There was a new Kangoo ZE, which follows kind of a new design language of Renault. So that was quite nice, bigger
Okay.
battery and so on.
Yeah.
But in fairness, in terms of non-EV premieres, I think you can count them on one hand.
Right.
Everything is going electric.
Fine.
This Renault's idea was that this will be a hydrogen plug-in hybrid. So you can top up using electricity at home, and you can refuel using hydrogen en route. That will not go into production. So it will be a pure EV going forward. Again, it's a concept, but the design is supposedly quite production ready. So obviously the lights will be a bit more normal.
Mm-hmm.
The grille will be a bit more normal. It has got all of these carbon fiber things, which will not make it.
You say that, but there are production cars you can go out and buy
Which look similar.
which have lights, which look just as concept car-y,
Yeah, so I think this is what we should expect for the new Scenic, and
Okay.
it will be an
Bit
SUV.
of crushed carbon fiber.
Yes, exactly. The highlight is the inside. So, just like most concepts, it's meant to be a living room on wheels type of thing. Definitely a concept with a yoke steering wheel which has heart rate sensors in it.
Yes,
that's what we
finally.
needed.
I'm so pleased for my 20 or whatever 15 years of driving. I've always thought what I really need is a heart rate monitoring steering wheel.
Exactly. Gosh. Seats which look like kind of armchairs in the back.
Okay.
Projectors projecting ambient lighting onto surfaces. Now,
That's quite
as crazy
neat.
as it sounds, I think we have seen it from Audi as well, and I think this is the future where you will get kind of blank surfaces,
Uh-huh.
and you will be able to customize the design kind of digitally with
Yeah.
LEDs becoming cheap. That's
Yeah.
one way of doing it.
These are trends, I don't know. I'm trying to think what was the first car that came out or that I was in that had ambient lighting. I think it was probably like a 7 Series,
Mhm.
whatever the F generation 7 Series was, and it was like, wow, this feels, or maybe an S Class or something. It was like it's $1 million. And now you get into anything, and it's just strip lighting,
Yeah.
and as long as it's cleverly engineered, you can change the color and whatever. Actually going back a step, minis, the first, was it the R53? No, I think it was on the R56 when that came out. It had this interior kind of mood lighting,
Mhm.
and you could change the color, or you could set it. So there was like, sorry, I'm doing this because there was like a switch where the headlining was, or you could switch it so it just kept rotating colors, and it was fun. It was just an extra little twerk. So not twerk.
Gimmick.
There's a word I'm looking for. Anyway, yeah, quirk. That's the word I wanted. Anyway, so yeah, not a twerk. Twerk something else.
Yes, very,
Anyway,
very different.
let's move on quickly.
Move on quickly then. Hard floors,
Okay.
which also probably will not catch on
As
for kind
opposed
of
to-
noise and vibration reasons.
Yeah. Okay.
Rear.
I'm very kind of this is all very relevant because
This is very relevant because this
this makes into production? I don't
well,
think it
not this thing, because if you are in an accident, this will slice your head open.
Yeah, there's glass in the headlining,
Yes.
in the headrest.
Yeah, but I think to a certain extent the exterior will make it to production, and it will be kind of an EV of that size. No kind of information on specs.
Renault are very lucky. They almost kind of lucked out in terms of the fact that their logo is very good at replicating into lots of
little hexagons.
You know, because this is now rife on Merc, Audi, everything. You know, those Peugeots, those Citroens you showed me. Whereas they at least have a bit of a claim to it with their logo. But anyway, again, I'm looking at that going, that's going to be expensive to repair, but maybe not.
See. The Next Ora Cat.
Mm-hmm.
So back to China.
I was sure a beetle had just appeared on the screen, but I think it's just the angle of the photo, because I've seen a lot of...
Honestly, in person, this is what you would imagine a Chinese knockoff a little bit to be, because you've got a bit of the Beetle, a bit of Porsche, a bit of Bentley, and it's all kind of mushed together into a Model 3 competitor.
Yeah. But I think with the Ora Cat, because it's like 20 grand or something?
Not anymore. 31.
When did that happen? I thought it was always going to be like early 20s.
It was meant to be sub 30, but I think it's 30 now.
Oh, right. That's going to be awkward when those BYD things start arriving.
Yeah.
That's not going to sell at that price then.
I think some people like the funkiness of them.
Yeah.
So we will see.
I don't know.
Again, the Ora Cat, I'm very confused by their naming strategy. So the Super Mini, it was quite spacious in the back. So I suppose if you need to carry 4 people,
isn't it like an Ora Cute Cat or something?
I don't know.
Okay.
I will need to look it up.
Fine.
So that's quite spacious in the back. I think the selling point of this will be that
Funky Cat, I think. No, Ora Funky Cat.
Yes.
Yeah, that's... So what's that? Is that already out of
That's
production?
the Super Mini. No. So that's the small one.
Oh, yeah, it's a different face. Okay.
Yes.
And this is the Next Ora Cat.
The Next Ora Cat, exactly, which
This
may be
is-
rebranded
this is a
by
bit
the
of a
time it launches.
Difficult nomenclature, whatever that was, to continue. So in 15 years, we'll have the next Ora Cat.
Probably. I think that's the one thing with the Chinese. They just have
It's very
impeccable marketing.
It's very haphazard.
83 kilowatt hour battery.
What? That's huge.
It's a Model 3 competitor.
Okay.
It's actually a
So I
bit
thought
bigger
we were
than a
talking
Model
about
3.
the Funky Cat.
No, the Funky Cat is...
Sorry, can we just go back? Is Funky Cat going to be 20 odd grand?
No.
Oh.
So the Funky Cat is going to be more than that.
Was
It's
the Funky
more-
Cat there?
Yes, but I did not take any photos
Okay.
because I
It was
saw it
old
fully
news.
charged.
Yeah, it was old news. Okay.
So back to this,
Mm-hmm.
the Model 3 competitor, the Next Ora Cat, 267 miles of range, according to the Chinese test cycle, most likely.
Mm-hmm.
And that Chinese test cycle is easier than the NEDC test cycle. And as we
Yes.
know, that was very unrealistic.
Unrealistic,
So
yeah.
200 miles.
Even WLTP, take
very
20% off
Yeah.
it. You know.
Power is, it will supposedly have all-wheel drive.
Mm-hmm.
Only 80 kilowatt charging, so 55 minutes to get to 80%.
That is odd. That's odd. Because a year or two ago, I would have kind of stressed or kind of maintained that the future is not in bigger batteries, it's in replenishing them faster.
Mhm.
Because bigger batteries mean more weight, and you're carrying all that extra weight for the 20% of journeys you do, when 80% of journeys are 15 miles, whatever the stat is. So I always thought we'll be trying to get regular cars up to 250, 300 kilowatts, not chasing 100 plus kilowatt hour batteries, but maybe...
What I think has happened, there are two things. Number one, the cost of batteries has gone down.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's probably easier to make a bigger battery and not worry about charging research and development costs.
Yeah,
And just put a bigger battery
but that's
in.
fine, but you're gaining weight.
Exactly.
And that weight is actually leading to inefficiency in its usage.
I don't agree with the strategy, but it is what it is. And second thing, in China, battery swapping is a big thing. So we don't really care about rapid charging because you drive into a kind of, it looks like an MOT bay,
Yeah.
battery drops out, you get a new one in, and off you go in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
How it translates into Europe and, we will see.
Okay, so this is Tesla Model 3 competitor. So, sorry, go back to that slide. Or even, yeah, this one's perfect. I particularly like how they've taken inspiration from early Model 3s that came out of Fremont.
Yes,
in the fact that the front bumper is a completely different shade to the bonnet.
We cannot comment on that because
I can. It's right in front of me.
I used a polarizer when I took that.
Oh, here we go.
So depending on
I'm
how
pretty sure.
the light hits
Flick to the next one. Yeah, no, that's the wrong shade.
Okay.
Right.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
But yeah, they have their own kind of style.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's kind of the logo replicates in the wheels and everywhere. They had them unlocked so you could see the inside. Build quality, obviously you can't drive them, but from fit and finish it looked very good, especially for a prototype essentially.
Yeah.
And materials also very good. What does this look like?
Well, a lot of things. Mainly a McLaren.
McLaren, okay.
I think so, no? Or like a Bugatti or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. Like, so
things I don't know anything about, but
so it's gonna be good, surely. But yeah, I
because it's a rip-off of
Exactly.
everything they've seen in
exactly. Frameless windows, very Mercedes-esque rear vents.
Yeah.
Lots of legroom in the back. So again, very much designed with China in mind, with lots of legroom.
I think these things will flop if... Actually, no, I was going to say if they drive badly.
But they will drive well.
Even if they drive badly, I don't think it matters because it's...
You know how people love Outlander PHEVs?
Yes.
And they are the worst driving cars out there.
I have to refute this because we used an Outlander, a 2019 Outlander, so I think it's the one with the latest engine, and they changed something with the drivetrain since the early ones. Or I think this one's now 2 litre. Anyway, it's like a 2019. And all Outlanders, we don't sell many Outlanders, but we've had maybe 10 or so over the years. The early ones, I agree, drove rubbish. But this one, lovely, really nice.
But you like SUVs?
I am partial to an SUV, yes.
Some of us hate SUVs.
But you're letting your bias of hating SUVs.
Well, it
say
drives
that
like an SUV.
It drives like an SUV, therefore it drives
Yeah,
like
fair enough.
whatever.
Moving on.
Okay, yeah,
Because
this
we
will
will
fall
not
into
agree.
an argument.
Yeah, alternative interior.
Okay.
I like how this looks. I would happily have this.
Yeah. Just there's too many things to comment on in terms of I've seen that elsewhere.
Yes, and this looks like a Bentley with a
Imagine how
Panamera
much
had a
cheaper.
baby.
Imagine how much cheaper it must be to design cars when you just nick other people's ideas.
But all of them are kind of recycled ideas, aren't they? Like you can't keep on coming up with new things all the time.
Yeah, I know, but just this is really like, yeah, look at those door handles.
Yeah.
That's very Bentayga kind
Exactly.
of light fixture.
Yeah.
Those wheels look like
The
they've come
roof
off
is a
straight
Model
Bentley.
3
That's the
thing
Model 3.
with the rear glass continuing
even
all
that
the way to the
that
top.
B-pillar trim is straight off from... I wouldn't be surprised if it's the same part number. But yeah.
So yeah, that's how it looks.
Okay.
So you're not exactly sold on this, are you?
So,
4.8 meters long, almost 4.9 meters long.
wow.
So yeah,
That's bigger than a Model 3, surely.
yeah, but it's going to be priced probably lower than a Model 3.
Okay. So, pop into your nearest Peter Vardy cars
Yeah.
to place your order.
Next up, MG Marvel R. So MG we know in the UK.
Funny how with... Because these are built in China, right?
I think so.
No MG products built in the UK, is it?
I don't think so.
So it is literally just the name.
Yes, and some of the research is definitely happening in the UK.
Okay.
And some of the kind of
So
design
I was
work.
going to liken it to the whole JLR, purchase a few years ago by Tata Motor Group, and how we somehow don't give them stick for being a what's that?
We were recording. I'm just double checking that we did not
Did
stop
I-
recording.
Am I so boring? It's turned
No,
off. Yeah. So with JLR, we seem to kind of not give them stick for being owned by a sort of overseas company. But here, I think it's certainly set in. People have started saying, "Oh, the Chinese MG." I almost think they should have just started with a fresh brand. The usage of the old name hasn't benefited until they start, knocking out little fun sports cars and stuff, which actually have MG DNA.
Which will happen.
Okay,
It's happening.
Okay, but it looks like they're too busy with Marvel
SUVs,
Rs or whatever, and more kind of crossover crap.
Yeah, that's what people are buying, unfortunately.
I know, but my point here is why use a name which really could have been saved for great, not greater things, but more
original things, true to the brand.
Yeah, because they will come. Next Boxster is going to be full EV, I believe.
Yeah.
So there will be that segment.
MG is launching the Cyberster.
I know, but in 5-6 years, but once they've got the, I know nothing about the MG. So there's I've ridden in all of them in Ubers. So there's the
ZSEV, which is the kind of small crossover.
Okay, what's the estate?
MG5.
Yeah.
Then there's the MG4, recently launched.
That's
the
the
kind of Leaf
hatchback.
thing.
Okay, well that's reassuring. That's showing a little bit of fun.
And that is on a bespoke EV platform. So that's what we should see kind of going forward.
But my point is, they're busy making all these crossovers and cars which will inevitably be used for lots of Ubering. And then in 5-6 years' time, when they go, finally we're going to show you why we chose to rejuvenate the name MG, this little sport. By then people will be like, oh, that's the brand that makes all those crossovers. I think it was, it should have just been called something else. But, Anyway.
There's 3 motors.
Of course.
1 in the front, 2 in the back, and to make it even more complicated, the 2 rear ones have a 2-speed gearbox, almost like the Taycan. So the mechanics are a bit different, but...
And why?
I think it's for performance.
So
believe
you
it or
can
not.
torque vector through London.
Yeah. 288 horsepower in total, 665 newton meters of torque. So it's quite punchy for what it is.
Yeah.
The rear-wheel drive version starts at 47,000 euros in Germany, so about 41,000 pounds.
Big number for a budget manufacturer.
But it's quite big. On the inside, it feels spacious. I would say out of all of the brands, this is definitely the Chinese brands, this is the most European.
47,000 euros. 4-wheel drive. Battery size for that 47,000.
70 kilowatt hours, 65
May
usable.
I ask you, what's the price of an Enyaq?
These days, probably starting at 45.
Okay, is it 4-wheel drive?
No.
Okay, well give me the 4-wheel drive one, early 50s?
55.
Okay, size of battery?
80.
Who would go out and buy this when you can go buy an Enyaq?
I think it's for people who do not need range.
But want to save £2,000 or 3,000. It's 47 versus
47k euros, 41,000 pounds.
Okay. I think I'd still rather an Enyaq.
Probably,
but
it looks fine.
Are we going to move on to some fun petrol cars here?
Okay, maybe. You see, you even have bucket seats in the back.
I'm losing
The boot
interest.
was small.
You're saying it's a car for people who need space. That boot looked terrible.
Yeah. Anyways.
Speaking of big cars with terrible boots, was the iX there? Oh, no, BMW.
No BMW. But this will excite you, because I think you mentioned to me before that you are actually looking forward to this
Let's
car.
bet I won't be excited. No. Okay, come on. I think you were talking with someone else.
Maybe, possibly.
I really don't. I think you have these imaginary conversations with me.
But this
okay, mildly more interesting.
This is very exciting.
Okay, go on.
Fisker Ocean.
Ocean.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
It looks like a baby iX or like a budget iX. Very slim headlights, illuminated everything.
Yeah.
Wheels with carbon fiber inserts, whether they are real or fake, I don't know.
Yeah, but a cool brand name. I mean,
pop-out door handles.
Fisker, it's a cool name, I think.
And it's easy to remember. It's an Ocean, unlike all the
E-Tech B5
exactly.
one, whatever.
Solar roof.
Okay, well, how many watts is that going to generate?
I would need to double check. Probably not many. It's a cool feature. iX ripoff taillights. Flat floor, bespoke EV platform, blah blah blah. This was a prototype.
Okay.
The quality of the materials was not what I was kind of expecting, and to be fair, I went to see it just to kind of complete the list of EVs which I have not seen.
Yeah.
But this is a US manufacturer.
I'm very confused about what happened with them because I think it's going to be manufactured in Austria, possibly.
Oh, okay.
Because the old Fisker kind of went bankrupt,
Yeah.
but I don't know who acquired them or like what happened in the gap of the couple of
Fine.
years.
So this is Europe built. Money.
That's where it will get exciting because, so, before we get to the money, you have got business class style tray tables in the front.
So you're going to say business class style coats.
No,
But that's very Parisian. That's very...
probably.
Anyway.
Yeah, material's not as good as I expected, but it's a prototype. It has a Mac E style screen behind the wheel. A rotating main display. Again.
Who copied who?
Yeah, exactly.
The jury's out.
The glass roof is interesting, so you can see the solar panels from inside,
Okay.
and there are kind of little gaps between them, so I suppose that's cool. I will pause this thing for a second,
Okay.
because I will look at the press release. Trim levels of the Fisker Ocean. Now, this again may have been done pre-inflation,
Yeah.
so keep that in mind, but it's a car which is almost, I think, 5 meters long, so it's a big SUV. Base, it will be front-wheel drive, and you can get all-wheel drive on the higher trims.
Yeah.
And the base model has about, I think, it's an 80 kilowatt-hour battery, something like that, 270 miles of range.
So this runs right to left.
Yes. So this is the
So
one.
the best one is called 1.
Yes, so that's going to be the launch edition. And then you will
Do you
have...
see the issue with that? Like, generally, the higher the number, the better the
Yes, but I think 1 is like the first one.
edition.
But they did not want to use
I always
first.
find first editions like they kind of upset the offering. I find, especially as a used car seller.
Yeah.
It's very like, you'll have people say, oh, but it's not an M Sport, or I don't know, who does first editions? Audi did. You'll be like, oh, this is an S line. It's like, no, sorry, the other way around. You'll be like, this is a first edition. Oh yeah, but I'm really looking for an S line. And you're like, no, this is better than an S line. It's a first edition. And yeah, they're just, I don't know why manufacturers bother with them.
I
really.
think it's a way of trying
And
to
with this
extract
E-Tech,
more money.
we know someone ordering an E-Tech and a Megane E-Tech, and they've got this first edition, but actually, if you do the maths, you're better off going for a non-first edition.
Yeah, and some of the colors, you can't get some of the colors on the first.
Just give up really. Just launch what you're gonna have.
I think the first edition is an excuse to start with a limited kind of slow rollout.
I bet they'll all come out once.
No.
I think in the Megane E-Tech.
Well, the Megane.
They all come at once.
Yes. In fact, I think the first edition comes after the normal one.
So, and if you're watching this and thinking, oh yeah, but stronger residuals, no, they don't. It's all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But back to the topic of money.
You get a badge usually. First. edition,
Exactly.
you know.
To say that this car will be full of bugs, don't buy me.
Yeah.
First
Well,
off the line.
There's that old view of, do you buy one of the last, or one of the last of the old shape, or one of the first of the new shape? But yeah. Anyway.
270 miles of range. It has a lot of standard spec.
Mm-hmm.
Upper ski. It has got the kind of driver assistance stuff. Decent range, big car.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is the price? The starting price of the front-wheel drive version, which has, I think, 200 something horsepower.
This will sound like an odd question, but what was the length? 5 meters ish.
We will hopefully skip
You've
here
got
and you
it
will not
paged.
notice. So yeah, length is
Okay,
4.8.
So it's no
and-
IX, but it's not.
But the
fast.
wheelbase, you've got 2.9 meters. So it's a
Okay,
it's a
so
big
it's
car.
a-
It's bigger than an
It's-
X3.
It's like a Model Y
And some.
So the base one with 270 mile range, 4-wheel drive.
front-wheel
Oh,
drive.
front-wheel drive only. It shouldn't be more than 65 grand.
This will be the pleasant surprise, and we will see a smile on your face. 35. And that's UK.
That's not bad. But you know what?
That will not happen, let's be honest.
Oh, right.
That will not
What's the
happen.
asterisk? I always worry when I see asterisks.
Yes.
All prices listed on manufacturer recommended retail.
And they
price.
include VAT, so like
Yeah.
there shouldn't be any catch, but this was pre-inflation.
Provisional pricing assumes no import tariff if enacted for delivery from EU. So
Yeah.
there's a bit of a clause there.
Yeah.
Okay.
But still, I think even if it's 40k,
I'm looking at these.
it will be
though.
good
They're,
value for money. And
yeah.
these are all-wheel drive
Yeah.
with an over 100 kilowatt-hour battery.
Sorry, but literally just confirming what I was saying. Exactly the same price for this one and an Extreme.
Yes.
What do you get? I mean, okay, well, we don't have
There's
time to-
there's
probably one
California
extra
mode.
thing.
Oh, this one has California mode as well. I have no idea.
Exactly. So why would you get that one? But anyway, okay, that's interesting.
But 5-seater,
Big boots.
big boots, yeah,
Decent range.
yeah, good. You see that? I'm pleased with that. Yes,
Good. We got somewhere.
finally.
You want to put the deposit down.
No.
The highlight.
Yes.
The Microlino.
Very excited. Finally, something interesting.
It looks very cute.
Yes.
It's a bit fatter than the Twizy. It's
Yeah.
definitely wider. You don't sit in tandem, you
Yeah.
sit side by side.
Mm-hmm.
2 seats. The build quality was a bit very early
Really?
production. It wasn't
Okay.
the best, I would say.
Okay.
Nothing loose,
Yep.
but the panels just did not. It's like a 2014 Tesla.
So I was watching something on YouTube about this, and they've taken the bold step of manufacturing in-house.
Yes.
So almost all these kind of startup little operations, they will outsource their production to third parties. Even BMW and stuff. A lot of almost all the components come from other suppliers, and I commend them on the fact that they've decided to do it in-house. But all I would say is the interview with the chap who runs this said he's brought it all in-house so they can control quality. If you're telling me the quality's not there, then that's concerning.
Well, these are pre-production cars, number
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Number two, even if the quality is not there, you can control it and you can iterate much quicker if
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
in-house.
Yeah.
So just like with Tesla,
They've only just started producing the
Exactly.
first production cars.
So I wouldn't be too worried about that.
Okay.
Yeah, for people who have not seen them yet, it's
Yeah.
like an Isetta.
It's not exactly, but with reverse gear. I think Isettas didn't have reverse, or some of them didn't. I think.
I'm too young to know that.
I'm also pretty sure they didn't have a hatch at the back. But and on that note, I think I've heard the boot is very big.
Yes, so it's quite. Here you can see this is, I think, like
Their
a beach version.
official marketing is that it's big enough for 2 adults and 3 crates of beer.
I
think
love that you remember that bit of
I
marketing.
do. I think it's very clever. Okay,
Yeah,
how
definitely
was
more usable than
how was
Twizy.
getting in and out of it?
Very easy, and in fact,
Did you
because
see any old people struggling?
I did not see any old people in that area, but the way the hatch opens, if we go back, the way the roof kind of slopes, you can basically stand up in it, so it's
okay,
very
fine.
easy.
Okay, and then
And
you just scoot.
It's kind of like getting onto a bus.
And I don't think it's important, but I'm guessing it will always be left-hand drive. They're not going to do a.
Well, that's what I would want to know. So there is a UK kind of ordering page, but I think all of the prices are in euros.
Fine. The reason I'm wondering about that, and I reckon the answer will be no, because you could, one of the main reasons for choosing left-right is, toll booths and things like that. And here, literally, you can scoot
or
past
overtaking, but like you're not going to overtake anything in this area.
Yeah, but also you can, even as the driver, if you pretty much just move your head 30 centimeters, you're in the middle. So, but the reason I go back to the door open photo, the lime green one, or whatever color, pastel green one. Let's say you parallel park one of these in the UK, you will open the door and be almost forced to walk out onto the road. Whereas if the door opened the other way, which if the hinge of the door has to be where the steering wheel is, then your steering wheel would be on the right of the car, but you'd be getting out
onto the pavement.
So that's the only reason I asked. I don't think it's a big issue, and yeah, I'm very excited for these.
Very good.
I mean,
So that's the boot.
Yeah, you see, that's
it's
really
usable
for as a London car, and we haven't spoken about batteries yet, but it can be anything but a London car if you wanted it to be. I think that this has a lot of potential, and I'm
absolutely.
I'm not going to hide. I'm desperately keen to try and supply these in London. We know a thing or two about selling overpriced small electric cars in the city centres. I think Microlino, hit us up.
Yeah, we would love to have them because
What's
And
that? Oh, that's I heard about this.
It has like a built-in screen.
Yeah.
So it's definitely more kind of sophisticated than the Twizy, which is disassembled right there.
There it is.
And it has a heater. It has proper windows.
Yep. Removable speakers, which you can take with you to your picnic.
Or you can just buy any Bluetooth speaker. But okay.
But it's you know, it's not like I'd like to think that speaker thing, they haven't gone, how can we get out of doing a proper entertainment system? They've actually thought, well, we could do that, but actually this will probably fit better with the usage of this vehicle. So yeah.
I think there are two missed tricks.
Okay.
Number one, no heated seats or steering wheel. In a car which is meant to be kind of energy efficient, lightweight, and very safe energy, why use the full heater if you could have a heated seat?
You could almost you could remove the heater altogether if you had those two and a heated windscreen.
Exactly, it's the windscreen, I think, the reason why they have the heater.
Yeah. And I wonder if that might be in legislation.
Yes, but the Twizy has an electric heated screen.
But that's a quadricycle. This is also a quadricycle. Yeah.
So, second thing, unlike the Twizy, it does not have an airbag in the steering wheel, whereas the Twizy has an airbag. So, however, saving grace is that it's a proper
monocoque.
Proper monocoque. Yeah. So, which one is going to be safer? Probably this.
Yeah.
I mean, this looks like a proper car.
Are there airbags at all, or
no?
Okay. That's odd.
I mean, but the Twizy has one, so like.
Yeah. There must be a reason behind it. I can't, because let's face it, it's not cheap.
I think if you look at the steering column back here,
where would
if you put it on the steering wheel, like how would the load kind of transfer, in case of an impact? I think that would be a big question.
Yeah.
And like you've got the front opening door, so I think it's a complicated problem. A luxury feature it does have though, soft close on the front door.
Oh, okay. But it's a big mass and it's at an angle, so that strut is going to be working quite hard. But no, I think it's a very, very cleverly thought out thing. I think there are London, Rome, Paris. These things are going to be seen everywhere. It's quirky. It's
fit for purpose.
Exactly.
That's yeah.
And much more so than something like a Twizy.
Yes.
Because let's face it, you need to go to Marks and Spencer here in London, which is just about walking distance. You'll walk rather than take your Twizy. You'd get in one of these and go, drive it there. It's usable. It's actually got a boot. It's easy to get into from what you say, etc. It's got good range. Let's talk about range. So 3 battery options.
Yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head.
Big though.
But you can go up to like 150 miles on a charge.
I think more. I think that's the medium one. I think. Oh
no,
maybe it's in kilometers.
Yeah.
But it's big, and I almost think too big. I think, or too much choice.
Yeah.
I think there should have been 2 battery choices.
Yeah, the small one and the middle one.
Yeah, or even just the middle one, and save yourself some, R&D and some, production costs. But I'll find out the size of the batteries.
Yeah, I can tell you that the tires.
Yes.
I did specifically check the size of the tires. 145 millimeters wide, so basically an i3 width.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh, so I was a little bit optimistic on the range. So it's in kilometers. We're talking. It's disappeared. It was here. 90 kilometers. Sorry, 95, 175, or 230.
And 230 is about 160 miles.
Yeah,
something like that.
Say so. So the biggest one is 140. And miles are always less than you think. But yeah, so 140.
For a city car.
City car is
fantastic. Yeah.
I don't believe there's any rapid charging. I think it's just.
Even that is a question. Is it Type 2? I don't remember this, whether it's Type 2 or whether it's like the Twizy, where you get a plug.
It was in that.
But it really should be. It really should be Type 2, like for it to be usable.
Where does it plug in?
I have no idea.
It's a mystery.
Yeah.
It's like a secret you only find out once you buy one.
Yeah.
Okay. No, cute. And price aside, and let's face it, there's a target audience for this, which is a very small percentage of the population. But in 3-4 years, go a few miles west of where we are now, and these are going to be everywhere.
What I'm hoping, I'm currently editing a Twizy video, and I said that in the Twizy video before I knew about any of this, there needs to be a category of cars below normal cars.
K-cars kind of thing.
Yeah, because it's pointless to drive a Range Rover 2 miles down to the shop. And it's unfair for an electric Range Rover to be £0 road tax and a Twizy to be the same £0 road tax. Like eventually, obviously, some of them, the road tax will come at some point. But for the small cars, which wear out the roads much less, are more energy efficient, take up less space, they should be the last ones surely to be taxed.
Yeah.
And you still have the kind of freedoms of personal mobility and not, a shared car or public transport.
I don't disagree with that. I think the cool thing about this is if you're, and this is a really popular or a common kind of user profile for us walking through our door here, and there'll be people watching who maybe don't live in London or what have you, but we get a lot of people who haven't had a car for 10, 15 years, and I don't know, maybe COVID, or there's some situation, or they've joined a Pilates class, and once a week they're finding themselves going on the bus, and they go, it's time to have a car. But really, that car's used once a week or twice a week, and it just sits parked on the side of the road, taking up. If you think really, if the cars are essentially the width of some London houses, really, everyone can only have one car or whatever. But they, at the moment, all they can go and buy is something like a smart car, an i3 or whatever, and that's great. But actually, the i3 is too big for them, and it's too capable, and it's too expensive. Whereas a Twizy, too far the other way. It's how are they going to charge? You need to
make a lot of compromises.
How are they going to charge it using the 3-pin plug? What are they going to do when it's raining? What are they going to do when people laugh at them? All that kind of stuff. This is a real halfway house, which I think is actually quite. There's many thousand people in many urban city centres who would have one of these. And unlike the Twizy, if you needed to, I mean, you'd look a bit out of place, but if you needed to, you could drive to Oxfordshire and back. Maybe with that bigger battery one, or even the medium battery one. So I think very exciting.
And in fact, on that kind of whole topic, lots of these kind of personal mobility things were present.
Okay.
So this literally looks like
Twizy.
A new version of the Twizy, but with proper windows. Whether it's going into production like that, I have no idea.
Yeah.
XEV.
These are all little brands. Yeah.
Exactly.
They're not sort of.
XEV, I think, is one of the bigger ones, but again, it's beginning to look like a Twizy, slightly wider, but more of a proper car.
Yeah. That door looks just like the Twizy doors, doesn't it? Obviously,
but it's less cool.
Open,
it's exactly less cool
in the same way, but yeah.
So I'm excited about this kind of category of cars.
Okay.
I think it's a good balance between all the kind of factors which we're trying to consider when moving around cities.
Let's face it, these things, they come and go, just like they did in the ICE period. They're never going to sell tens of thousands of these. They'll be lucky if they sell thousands of them. Maybe in Japan and places like that which historically have loved K cars and stuff like that. But here, this is a bit of a niche. But something about the Microlino has caught my excitement, whereas this kind of doesn't.
Well, the next car you will be excited about because
it
has a petrol engine.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea what it is. It's a Ferrari.
We need Eddie here to tell us more about that.
I have no idea.
The stuff in the background looks very, very cool, but
boring.
Yeah. So I think these are very much FCEVs.
I think this one is petrol, and then there was a FCEV with a.
That's not a FCEV. That's a LaFerrari, but it looks like it's had some kind of conversion.
It's a FCEV then, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I forget LaFerraris have battery. Yeah, because they're pretty much unsellable these days because all the batteries apparently have died.
And look at the fantastic placement of the charge port where you need to put a
Chafage.
microfiber not to scratch your paint.
Wow. That's crazy.
Value for money.
I completely forgot that LaFerraris have a battery, yeah. But of course they do, because the P1 and the 918, which came out all around the same time, they're all
kind of the same thing.
all battery assisted cars, I'd say. Yeah.
I think they can do pure EV driving, but realistically, it's there
The
to be a
918
compliance car
Definitely, yeah, I know.
and for the boost.
Yeah. Yeah, that red thing, we need to do some research, see if we can get a few of those in stock.
People can comment and tell us
Yeah.
what it is. Also in Paris, lots of hydrogen cars, which, as you know, I really, really dislike, to put it politely. And the main reason is, if you look under the bonnet of a Mirai, this is what you get. How is this better than an EV? How is this more efficient to package? And the bonnet is massive, so it's... And you don't get rear folding seats, because the hydrogen tanks, it has to be a cylinder, you can't beat
Have you
physics.
got a photo?
I do not. The boot was locked very conveniently, so you can't fold the rear seats down. And if you look at the fuel cells, they're just massive boxes, and you can't, with batteries, you can shape them to fit into whatever space you need.
Yeah.
This you can't.
Okay, so you're a first honours, whatever you call it, aerospace systems engineer. So
Yes.
you're vastly smarter than me and know this.
I think that's an overstatement, but okay.
No. But assume I'm an idiot.
Okay.
Well, there's no need to assume. But so with hydrogen,
Yeah.
you're still distributing the fuel around in big tankers,
Yes.
although you
Or-
could make it on site and use a lot of electricity.
That, or you can, just like with gas,
Mm-hmm.
you can have pipelines.
Which
is tricky,
Okay.
Because hydrogen, if you
Why
look
don't
at
you
the
just have petrol pipelines? And then you just get rid of the tankers.
It's
Genius.
pointless.
I've just come up with a genius idea.
Hydrogen being the smallest molecule and atom, if you look at the periodic table,
Okay.
it
Yeah.
leaks. It tends to leak.
Oh.
So you need to have things which are very
It's
well
very,
sealed.
it's very kind of keen to, is it lose or gain its last
Now,
what is it?
Electron.
Electron.
and
School
I
chemistry
I
coming
don't know
back.
that because I am a systems engineer, not a chemist.
Oh, okay. But still. So fine. There's an infrastructure issue just like there is with EVs.
Yeah.
There's
an
if
energy
anything, it's
efficiency.
bigger, I think, but whatever.
Yeah.
Then, so you then pump this stuff into your car,
Yeah.
and then that stuff creates electricity,
Yes.
which then powers your wheels.
Exactly. So hydrogen cars are still electric cars.
Okay.
It just not the battery electric, it's hydrogen electric.
So these are fuel cell vehicles.
Yes.
Wasn't there a time in history where the idea behind hydrogen was you could almost convert ICE
Yes.
engines to
Run on hydrogen.
for the
Burn
explosion
hydrogen,
to be hydrogen, and H2O comes out of your tailpipe. What happened to that?
H2O does not come out of your tailpipe.
Why not?
Well, it does, and a lot of NOx comes out of your tailpipe.
Oh.
And that's why we are banning diesels, and so it doesn't really work.
I see.
And you are still burning stuff.
Fine.
Not good. You still want an electric motor which is more efficient than a
Right.
combustion engine.
Okay.
And even if you use the fuel cell, the energy requirements to make hydrogen
Yeah.
are
I
crazy.
just think what you're doing here is your final result is essentially watts, but to get to those watts, you're kind of doing 2 or 3
extra steps,
extra
conversions,
steps.
and each conversion
And-
is an energy loss.
And frankly, I'm a little bit. I just think it's all like it's been and gone. Like the opportunity. It might have been the way forward, but it's too late now, is what I think. Apart from my one caveat to this is, I think for commercial and HGV and stuff like that, I think there might still be scope for it. But I just think with passenger cars, we're too far down the road with EV and the infrastructure. You know, billions of pounds and euros and dollars has gone into rapid chargers and stuff like that.
I think it's too little, too late, and there's a lot of people going, oh yeah, I'm not buying an EV because I'm waiting for hydrogen. Wait all you like. It's not coming. I think
it's the technology which is always 5 years away, and that was said 30 years.
That's a very good point. I agree. And so you went to a motor show.
Yes.
A show showing the excellence of what's coming soon and what's currently available. How much hydrogen stuff did you see?
More than I expected.
Oh, okay.
But realistically, kind of 10% of the show.
Right.
And if you look at where everybody's headed, all the big manufacturers, it's EV.
Yeah.
And the most aggressive one.
Mirai is now in its third kind of body, isn't it?
Second body, and I think there may have been like a prototype before then, but yeah.
Okay. And how many hydrogen refueling stations are there in the UK? Because about 5 years ago there was, I think, 3.
And I think they shut down.
Yeah. That's 2. That's great kind of advancement.
So yeah, and hydrogen is expensive to make, so it just doesn't make sense. This is the photo I was trying to show you the other day, and I lost it.
Mm-hmm.
I will put it up on the screen as well so people can see. But this is for heating homes.
Martin, remember, I'm an idiot. This is
exactly. So
I
we will go
through
this step by step, and it shows the same problem for EVs essentially. If you want to heat homes using hydrogen instead of natural gas, to make all of that hydrogen from water using electrolysis, you need that kind of surface area in wind farms.
Okay.
To do the same using electricity, using heat pumps, that's what you need.
Yeah.
So at the time when electricity is expensive, there's a shortage. To push for hydrogen just does not make sense.
No, I see what you mean.
I mean, if we have an abundance and we have an excess of electricity, then sure, let's do hydrogen. But until then,
I think the only obvious advantage I see is just refueling time. You plug it in, whatever the hydrogen flight. Oh, it's not comparable with petrol, is it?
It's a bit slower.
It's a bit like LPG.
Yes.
Okay.
And there's also one issue, supposedly, that the system needs to repressurize between every kind of couple of cars. So the first 2 are 5 minutes, but then the next one is going to be 10 minutes. And if you think that the Taycan charges in 18 minutes to 80%...
I've never experienced that.
I have experienced it.
No, yeah.
I mean, it's really not that far off.
Yeah, I know.
And if you consider the fact that you can recharge an EV at home and you can't refuel a hydrogen car at home,
yeah,
I mean, it's just a better way to do it.
There's too many. You have to make too many excuses, and you have to kind of forgive it for too many things. I think EV's here to stay, and I just don't see this catching on. But
I think the only people who want hydrogen to succeed or want a hydrogen car are fossil fuel companies. And people, from a customer standpoint, it's people who have not driven an EV. Because once you experience it...
The irony is, by buying one of these, they're driving an EV.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in terms of driving experience, it's exactly the same, apart from you've got this big explosive tank on board. You've still got the battery. No, do you have a battery?
Yes, because the fuel
it's got to go into the battery and come out of it.
Yes and no. So it's like a plug-in hybrid, where the fuel cell, or hybrid, where the fuel cell can provide very kind of steady energy, but the moment you accelerate, you need the backup of the battery for peaks.
Yeah.
And for regen braking, you want the battery.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a hybrid system.
Fine. So yeah, you're driving an EV, but with a big explosive tank on board.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's how one looks.
Okay. Sorry, what's the manufacturer?
Nemex.
Ah, yes,
China.
Nemex. Okay. Well, we'll see.
And you ruin your aerodynamic benefits of an EV because you need a massive air intake to combine, to capture oxygen, to combine with hydrogen, to create H2O at the tailpipe and create electricity in the process. But yeah, the conclusion is lots of Chinese stuff happened, which you do not like. Way Coffee 01.
Is that a coffee stop?
No. So Way is the brand, Coffee is the model, and I don't know. But
also that looks like it was manufactured 10 years ago.
Yes, but I think they listen to you now.
Okay.
Because they made a plug-in hybrid with, I believe, 70 miles of range on a charge. And it's kind of an SUV shaped thing.
Okay. But this isn't groundbreaking. The latest, I think the new or the next shape KN is destined to have like 50, 60 miles range.
The next shape Cayenne is destined to be EV only.
Is it?
Yes.
I'm confused with something else then.
As in the all new Porsches and everything new these days.
That's it. No more ICE.
EV
development.
is happening.
Okay.
And I think it was it yesterday? The 2035 ban on fossil fuel cars was approved in the EU, which we are no longer in. But I mean, why would you make a dedicated car for the UK?
Yeah,
so it's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Okay.
So that's it. That.
Tell us a bit about Paris in general. Have you been before?
Yes.
Okay.
At the previous motor show. And before that with the family. Yeah.
Were you vegan on your previous trips?
No.
And how did you fare going to Paris for what, 4 or 5 days?
3 days.
3 days as a vegan.
I failed.
Wow.
Lots of cow cheese was consumed.
That's beautiful.
It's
beautiful to hear. So
I had I think 2 vegan meals in total.
Wow. And you had to, I imagine, hunt for them.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're not going back to Paris anytime soon?
I actually don't like the city that much. I hope people don't kind of grill me for that, but
half our audience is French.
They are not. No, I looked at the analytics, but
that's true.
No, to me, it made me appreciate London a lot more than I expected.
Fine. And but we haven't had a car show in London for, I think, about 10 years now. Maybe not quite that long.
So you're saying we should introduce a Wisely show?
No, definitely not.
In the railway arch.
That's the last thing we need. But yeah, no, cool. So I think my favourite thing that you showed me, well, it's definitely Microlino. However, I was pleasantly surprised by the Fisker. I think that has a real potential in the UK, and I think the price point is attractive. I thought it could be it would be a lot more expensive than that. But I think as an an overall thing, I'm really surprised by the fact that the big players weren't there. I say big players, but the names ones, that would actually interest me. And I don't know whether to be worried by that, or let's hope, like you say, it's just cost saving. But I think in the grand scheme of things, surely this is just a small smidgen in their overall marketing spend. But yeah, China, here we come.
It's good though.
And
I'm excited for competition.
Well,
on that note, we are going to wrap up.
Yeah.
We have been going for almost 2 hours.
Wow.
So I think
if you've got this far, comment below and you get a free car. No, maybe not. But yeah, that's very impressive, and thank you for listening. And if you have liked it, we are exploring the idea of doing some kind of, probably not weekly, but maybe monthly podcast. But we haven't really kind of honed in on a theme. Is it?
I think the theme we will do 2 things. So we can do a bit of news from my side, and we can do a bit of background motor trade, which I think people would be very interested in hearing from your experience and your side.
Yeah, we could, and maybe that side of it can be answering questions, or
exactly.
we pick out some bits and bobs.
Yeah, because obviously we can't get back to all the YouTube comments we get and all the emails we get.
Yeah.
So if there is something which is maybe too difficult to explain otherwise,
or if it's a common theme, if we're asked the same thing a few times, then yeah.
So there's definitely kind of
cool
room for suggestions.
Yes,
we will listen to them. Hopefully we get a better setup with fewer trains running above.
I will just ask Network Rail to just stop the trains on Saturdays. I think that's the way forward.
I think the solution is that the Just Stop Oil protesters need to move to railway tracks above us for 2 hours.
If you're watching, 48 Weymouth Road, so anywhere from 40 to 54, just go sit down and let us know when you're in town. Yeah. Cool.
Lovely.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's it.
Take care.
See you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
2 hours.
Yes.
No one's going to watch that.